Hello guys, Alan here, and this is the most authoritative REVIT tutorial channel you can ever find on YouTube. And we are still going to continue in our ROOFS series. We have a long way to go. So this video is going to be about DOMA roofs in REVIT, alright? So we're going to talk about the DOMA roofs in REVIT, the DOMA roofs inside of REVIT, and how you can create some unique openings on top of our roofs inside of REVIT. So we are going to talk about DOMA roofs inside of REVIT in this section. So just make sure you sit back and then you follow along with every step in the way. Now, if you're watching this video and you haven't liked or subscribed to my channel, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel, because I'll be putting out more contents and more tutorials like this on REVIT, so you do not want to miss out. So just make sure you subscribe to my channel, and make sure you drop a comment in the comment section if you have anything you want to add to whatever we are going to talk about in this section. If you want to ask questions, you can also drop that in the comment section as well. So without wasting much time, I'm going to get started in here. So now, before I get started, I'm going to just draw out a simple wall. I'm just going to use let me just use the let me get this concrete. All right, so I'm going to use this wall in there. Okay, let me use this one, and I'm going to draw out a simple wall in here. All right, so I'm going to draw two of those walls. So I have this wall in here, and I'm going to make sure I change that to fine so I can see the structural parts in there. And let me just add some shadow in there on my floor plan. All right, so I have this on level 1. I'm not going to even use my level 1 view like that, so let me change this. All right, so this is perfect, and I'm going to copy all of this and just copy that to the side. Okay, so this is perfect. So now we are going to model out some roofs and also talk about DOMA roofs inside of REVIT. So let me just model out a roof in there. So click on the drop down menu, roof by footprint, and of course I want that to go to level 2, and I'm going to create a roof in there, and I want an offset of 900 millimeters, which is to the building regulation from where I come from in Accra, Ghana. So that is to the building regulation in there, and I want the slope of my roof. Okay, so let me just draw the roof first, and let me see that in there. So 900. Okay, so this is perfect. Now I want the slope of my roof to be a little bit steep in there, so I'm going to make that 35 degrees. All right, so I'm going to make it, I want it a little bit steep because I'm going to be creating a DOMA roof on there, so I kind of want it a little bit steep in there. So this is perfect. I'm going to finish that and don't attach. So let me head into the default 3D view in there. Okay, so you notice we have our walls going all the way up in there. All right, so you just make sure you select only those walls in there, and after selecting those walls with your top constraint, you want to come into the properties panel, and then we change that to up to level 2. We move our mouse pointer in, and it applies that in there for us. So we have this roof in here which is quite steeper a little bit. So now I'm going to create a flat roof. Let me just take away all this level line, so EH to hide that in there. So now I'm going to select this to create a flat roof in there. All right, so with this, you're going to want to send your wall up a little bit, so we're going to set that to unconnected, and then we are going to give it a top offset. All right, a top. Okay, so we can change this to level 2, and then we can just give it a top offset of about 800 millimeters. All right, so we can send this up to 800 millimeters. This is fine. And level 1, level 2, let me just kind of model this out. Okay, turn this in here, come in here, and let me just head to level 2. So we have our roof on this level, and then we want to have a flat roof in here. So I'm going to get in here and then select my roof in there, and also select this in there, and I escape out of that for a moment. Escape, and just make sure you select that roof in there. And before I select my draw tool, I make sure I extend to wall core in there. I've talked about that in part 2 of this series, so I'm going to draw this in here. All right, so if it's a structural wall, you're going to notice it's going to draw in the structural part. So I'm just going to pick line. All right, so I'm going to pick line, and it's going to extend into the wall core in there. So okay, pick line, and then it's going to extend to that wall in there. So this is it's going all the way into the structure part of that wall. So I spoke about this in part 2. So after selecting those, picking those lines in there, you want to select everything, and then you want to uncheck the defined slopes in there, and then we finish that, and we head into our 3D view in there. When we head into our 3D view, we have this roof in here. All right, so now we just want to make sure we join that roof in there. All right, so I'm going to join that roof to this walls in here. So I'm going to use the famous join to, just like how backend architect is going to say that. So I'm going to select that join to, make sure the multiple join is set, and then you select, first you make sure you select the roof, and then you select all of those walls you want to join that to. All right, so now you notice we've joined all of this in there, so we can't select them anymore. So you notice we have the roof carved into the structural parts of this wall we have in here. So this is perfect. Hit on escape in there. So we are done creating all of these roofs in there. So we are going to start creating our dormer roof. So I'm going to start first with this ridge, with this gable roof in there. I'm going to start first with this type of roof, so with a gable roof. So I'm going to head into level 2, and you're going to notice in level 2 in here, we kind of like, we can't see all of our roof in there. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate all the way to my side view, and this is perfect. So I'm in the side view now. You can notice I can now see all of those roof to the end of the ridge caps in there. I can get into the ridge cap and see my roof, so I can know how I'm going to draw that in there. Now one thing I want to do is I want to be able to see the wall in there, so I can draw that offset away from the wall. So I'm going to change this to fine in there, and I'm going to change this to a wireframe. Okay, so now when you change that to wireframe, you can see all of those walls in there. All right, so I can now know how to draw my roof in there. All right, so I'm going to head into architecture tab, and when I head into the architecture tab, I'm going to select my roof in there, and of course I want that to go to level 2 in there. Level 2 is fine. With my base level is set to level 2, and I'm going to draw that roof in there. So I'm just going to draw a simple rectangular roof in there. So I'm going to draw this roof just down to this part. Okay, this is fine. And what I want to do is I would want to select all of these, and then I want to uncheck their defined slopes in there. I want to uncheck those defined slopes in there. So I want my roof to slope in a triangle. All right, I want it to slope in elevation to look this way in a triangle form. So I need to uncheck this, and then also uncheck this side. So I need these sides to slope to each other. So I have that in there, which is perfect. I have that in there, and let me just check everything set up in my properties panel. So this is perfect. I'm going to finish that, head into my 3D view, and then we have that roof in here. All right, so we have that roof down in here. We can't really see that, so I'm going to give it a base offset. All right, so I'm going to give it a base offset of about let me get in here, and let me give it a base offset of about 2100. All right, so I can move that to 2100 in there, and then I have that roof coming all the way up in here. So this is perfect. So this is perfect. I have this roof coming in there. Now let me just change the material in there. I want to use a much thinner roof. Okay, so this is perfect, and I'm going to change this to 2300. All right, so okay, I want it to go up a little bit. So this is kind of perfect. All right, and with this, let me head into level 2. Okay, so this is it. All right, so now let me head back into the 3D view. Now you're going to notice we have our roof, part of our roof also eating into the, we have part of our roof eating into our roof in here. We want it to kind of like end on the edge in here to trim along with this. All right, we don't want it to eat into this bigger roof we have in here. So what we can use is we are not going to use the join to, guys. So you just make sure you move into the modify tab, and then you select this join roofs in there. All right, so when you select that join roof in there, when you select that in there, what you want to do is you'd want to just select the side in there that you want to join that in. So I want to join this roof, so you just select any side, and then when you select that side, you can just select this roof, and then it joins that to this roof in there. So when we navigate down in there, you're going to notice we have that roof in there, which is perfect. So this roof is now trimmed exactly to this roof gable roof we have in here, which is perfect. All right, so we have this in here trimmed to that. Okay, so now what we want to do now is we want to draw our walls in there. So let me just check this. We have a base offset of 2300. So we want to now draw our walls in here for this roof. So I'm going to get back into level 2, and what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to select my wall in there, and I'm going to use just a generic 140 mm. So now when you select that generic 140 mm, we are going to draw out those walls now. So with the wall, our location line is going to come in handy. When you pay attention to this ribbon, we are going to set that to level 2, and with our unconnected height, the top constraint is level 2, and with the base, we want the base to be level 2 in there. All right, cancel. We want the base to be level 2, and then we want this to go to an unconnected height of about let me just okay, so I'm going to leave it at, let me say, a height of about 4000 millimeters. All right, so we can leave that at 4000 millimeters. So make sure your base constraint is at level 2, and then we have the top constraint going at an unconnected height of 4000 millimeters. All right, so with our location line, is, you can see, it's set to a wall center line. So now look at what it's going to do. So when I click in there, it's going to create that in the center. I don't want that. I want it to be on the side in there. So escape, I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to use the finish face interior. All right, so when I click there, you're going to notice it's walking inside of that in there, and I click right there, and then I'm going to click right here, and then also going to finish this right here. All right, so we finished that in there. Head into our 3D view, and we have that roof wall in there. So with this, we are going to select all of this. We are going to select, make sure we select all of this in there. So we didn't check that in there. We should have checked that in there. So let me just select all of these in there, and my base constraint, I'm going to send that to level 2, and this is perfect. All right, so we have this going all the way up to level 2 now. So this is perfect, and I want to select all my walls and then attach this to this roof in there. So this is perfect. All right, so now we want to now make sure we are able to trim this to actually attach with our roof and also this roof in there. So what we are going to do now is we are going to select all of those walls in there and attach to top base in there. We are going to select this roof, and then when we are select our attach to top base, we are going to change this attach wall to base. All right, and then we are going to select this roof in there. So when we navigate down there, you are going to notice it's attached to that roof in there. So this is perfect. So now we can just place a window in there. So I can select that window, and then I can place any window. So REVIT has some windows loaded up. This window is too big enough. Let me just use a quite similar window. Okay, so this we can use this window right in there to demonstrate what we want to do in there. So we have this window. Let me just center my window in my design in there. So let me just center it somewhere around here. Okay, so this is perfect. So now we have that window created in there. Now when you navigate down beneath in here, you notice our dormer roof, and this window here is not performing any function because we have the roof covering that in there. So how do we create that opening for that section as well? So how we can do that is we make sure we head into the architecture tab, and then we head into this opening tab in there, and when we're in the opening tab, we make sure we click on our dormer in there. All right, so when we click on the dormer in there, we are now going to create that dormer in there, the opening. All right, so now this tends to be a little bit difficult, just like our backhand architect taught me how to do that. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you want to draw those lines in. You first of all want to make sure you select that roof. You want to pick that edges in there, and what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to, let me just add some shadow, and you're going to want to change that to wireframe. All right, so we can see the eternal spaces in there, and then select the eternal spaces. So we are going to pick roof edges in there, and we are going to select this edge and also select this edge. You can see that's the edge in there, and we're going to select this edge, and also make sure you select that edge, and then we are going to finally select that edge in there. Then we are going to use our trim and extend to TR on your keyboard. All right, or you can go in here, then you find that icon in there. So make sure you trim all of that to each of the edges in there. So this is perfect, and then we finish that in there. So I'm going to change all my distance back to hidden lines, And when we head back in here, you can now notice we have that opening in there, which Doma roof is serving a better purpose in there now. So that is how we create those Doma roofs in there as well, which is perfect. All right, so we have this created in here, which is perfect. Now another thing we can do is we can also create a roof by using roof by extrusion. We can create the Doma roof by using the roof by extrusion tool. So we can use our extrusion tool to create a unique Doma roof in there. So we can head back in here, we can go back in there. Let me just create one roof by extrusion in there. So we can select this wall and then we extend it a little bit in there so it covers that. Select this and then we push this to enter in there, and this is perfect. So we are going to create one more roof in there, extrusion, and let me just get in to level 2. Okay, let me just stay on this site view, and then we click right there, click on the roof by footplane. Of course we want that to go to level 2, and I want to use a much more thinner roof in there. So nope, no roof by footprint. All right, so just cancel that, guys. Just cancel that in there, and yes, and we are going to use our roof by extrusion. All right, so with this we are going to want to pick a plane in here. All right, so I'll have to navigate to my 3D view so I can get into my 3D view, and then I want to pick this plane in here. All right, so we can't pick this this looped surface. All right, so we are going to want to pick this plane in here, which is level 2, and I want to give it an offset of 300 in there. All right, so just 300 in there, and I have that in there. So now what you want to do is we want to navigate to an elevation view, and this is where we have that in there. So we can just select any of that, and I'm going to draw this from this point to this point in there, and then I can extend this Doma roof in there. All right, so this is perfect, and I'm going to finish that in there as well. So this is also perfect in there, and I can change this to a much thinner roof. Okay, so I can navigate into my 3D view, and then you're going to notice we have our roof extending all the way in there. All right, we can push this in here and to somewhere around in here. So I have this somewhere around here. Okay, so this is perfect, and what I'm going to do now is we are going to cope that in there. So we are going to join roof, head into the modify tab, click on that join roof in there, and we are just going to click on the edge. All right, it doesn't matter, just click on that edge, and then you click on this roof in there. So it joins that to this roof in there as well, and you can just follow the same process as we did to this, and also create all of those walls in there. All right, with this we can also change that to a 2 cut in there, plumb cut. You can see that, so it's not going to work. So let's just change this to the plumb cut, and you can see the roof can't be cut. So you just need to know that with the construction tab, with the rafter cut, it's not going to cut for the roof by extrusion in there as well. So you can use the same procedure as we did for this, and also apply the same thing for this as well. So now I'm going to show you guys how we can actually place windows on roofs. All right, so if I should get into my architecture tab, and then I should click on this okay guys, so if I should get into this architecture tab, and then I should click on this window in there, you're going to notice REVIT has some number of windows loaded up into the software. All right, so if I should click on this, and if I should navigate on this to place that on the roof, it's not going to allow me to place that on a roof. All right, it's just a wall based family. All right, so we need to make sure we get a family that is actually going to be placed on the roof. So what we can do now is, when we click on our window tab in there, what we are going to do is we are going to navigate to our load family. All right, so we're going to click on that, and we're going to have this drop up menu in there, which is perfect. So we have this big drop up menu in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this to go back, and I'm going to select my English in there, and I'm going to find Windows. All right, so with the Windows, let me just change this to a list view. So you notice we have the roof based family window in there. So I'm going to load a little bit of those roofs in there. So I have the skylights, so I'm going to select this, and also select this, and also select this, and also select this as well. All right, so I'm going to load this window families in there. So when you load that in there, you're going to notice we have this specify types in there. So let me show you guys what this actually means in there. So with the specify types in there, if I should click in here, you're going to notice we have some types in there we can select. All right, so you have various types and dimensions of those roofs in there. If I should come in here, we have some. If I should come in here, you notice we do not have any specified types. So it's just going to be a single type family in there. We are not going to have types that we can select with different dimensions. All right, so we have this skylight round also we do not have in there. So with this, I'm going to specify types. I'm going to select this, I'm going to select this in there, and also select this, and then we also this. I'm going to do the same thing, select this, select this, and also select this as well. All right, so this is perfect in there, and after doing that, you can just hit on OK on your keyboard, and Revit is going to load all of those windows in there, which is perfect. So when I click on this drop down menu in there, you're going to notice we have this window based, this roof based windows in here, which is very perfect. So we can click on any of these roof windows in there, and we can create those roofs in there. All right, so we can put this in there, and then it creates that window in there. So it's not going to work when we put that on the wall. All right, so this is quite futuristic. I think I would love to have a building, I would love to have a home with having this kind of window in there. It's very nice. I'm going to design a house for myself where I'm going to use this kind of window in there. All right, so this is perfect. So we can change that and use any of those windows. All right, so I'm going to use a much more bigger one, and then we put that in there. So you're going to notice it's going to cut through those roofs we have in there. Itself is going to cut through those roofs in there, which is perfect. All right, so you can do the same thing for a flat roof as well. You can also do the same thing for a flat roof. So we can just click on the window, and then we can place in some skylight roofs in there for the flat roof. We can place one in here, and let me just place one more type also in here as well. So let me place this one more type in here, which is perfect. All right, so we have this also placed in there on the flat roof. So it's going to work for both the flat roofs and both roofs with the gable type of roof in there. So we have this selected and done, and I'm going to show you guys how you can actually create the roof also using the component tab in there. All right, so I'm going to show you guys another way you can create this kind of void roofs in there, especially this lantern roofs in there. All right, so this lantern windows in there. So I'm going to show you guys how you can do that. So I'm going to navigate to level 2, and I'm in level 2 now, and I'm going to make sure I select that roof. So let me just head into the 3D view and select that roof and get back into level 2. So perfect, this is quite a shortcut, and I'm going to edit the footprint of that roof in there, and I'm going to draw out just a simple shape in there. All right, so just a simple shape, and definitely I'm going to uncheck my defined slopes. I'm going to finish that in there. This is perfect. So I'm going to select this roof, and I'm going to head into my architecture tab, and I'm going to create a simple wall in there. So I'm going to select any of the wall. Let me just use this generic 140 mm wall in there. So this is perfect, and select this, and with my location line, of course I want that to be, and hit on the space bar, and it's going to change that into the eternal space in there, which is perfect. So with our base constraint, we have that level 2 top constraint set to that. Let's get into our 3D view. All right, so this is going way too up in there, so I'm going to bring that down a little bit to about 200. All right, 200 is fine. Okay, 200 is going way down. Okay, let me bring this to, and let me send this all the way to 600. 600 will do. Okay, 600 is fine in there. So we have this set to 600 millimeters in there, so this is fine. We can join those roofs to this wall in there. So I'm going to show you guys how you can create that. So navigate back to roof, and we are going to click on the drop down menu, and then we are going to select our sloped glazing. All right, so when we select the sloped glazing, we are going to duplicate that to I think I'm fine with the name in there, and with the curtain panel in there, we are going to click on the drop down menu. I think I'm fine with that. With the grid layout, I'm going to change that to maximum spacing, and I'm also going to change this to maximum spacing. I think I'm fine with the spacing I have in there. What I tend to do most of the times just as background architect taught me. With the grade 1 mullions, I tend to keep the same element or material in there. So with a rectangular mullion, I'm going to use the 30. I'm going to select, hit on Control C, and then you come in here, Control V, and then it comes in there. All right, so this is quite a shortcut you can actually use to do that. So just hit there, Control C, and then when you come in here, Control V, and then it pastes all of that in there, which is perfect. All right, so we can come in here and Control V, and then it pastes that, and then come in here, Control V, and it pastes that in there. So we are going to hit on OK in there, and we have that roof in there. So we are going to draw our roof, and of course I want them to have some slopes in there, but I do not want it to be too steep in there. All right, so with the angle, I'm going to change that to about 20. I don't want it too steep in there, so I'm going to finish that and don't attach. So we have that in there, and get into my 3D view. Okay, so we are going to select that, and with our base constraint, we have that in there, and we're going to give it a base offset of 610. All right, 610 millimeters, and that is going to sit right on top of our roof in there. So we've created some of this. So now we've also tended to create some of this roof in there. So we've created some of this skylight roofs also on top of our flat roofs in there. We can do the same for the ridge cap as well. So this is how you can create those openings inside of your roof in there. All right, so this is perfect. It's kind of perfect. You can make sure you learn and you practice along with every step in the way on how you can create all of those dormer roofs inside of Revit. I hope you guys have learned something, and I'll catch you guys in our next part of our tutorials, where we would be modeling how we can model the various types of roofs that we have in here. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. I'll catch you guys in the next part. Peace out.
I'm still working real hard on a Saturday. A future I don't see from a mile away.